And we're joined here in the studio by France24's Sanam Shantyaei, and we're going to cross over to Stepanakert in Nagorno-Karabakh. Armine Alexinian is Deputy Foreign Minister of the self-proclaimed Republic of Artsakh. Thank you for being with us here on France24.
Thank you for inviting.
Let's begin with the latest. The Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, extending an invitation to both Armenia and Azerbaijan to come to Moscow for talks. Your reaction?
Well, any meeting that is has a potential to solve the issue peacefully, of course, is heartily welcome in Artsakh. We have stated it on numerous occasions that we are for the solution of conflict exclusively by peaceful means.
Nikol Pashinyan, the Prime Minister of Armenia, was implying in statements he made earlier in the day that it was too soon for talks.
Well, I guess what he meant, and I'm making an assumption here, judging from the situation that we have on the ground, that in order to have productive peace talks, you need to create an atmosphere conducive to peace. That is to halt the hostilities, to cease the hostilities, and then be ready and in the conditions whereby there is no threat of the use of force, sit down and discuss the differences.
You heard in that report the French President Emmanuel Macron on his trip to Latvia express his concern over what he calls the warlike statements out of Turkey. France, one of those three countries that's been part of the so-called Minsk process that's over the years been dealing with trying to resolve this three-decade-old standoff. Does that mean that France is taking a side in your view?
Well, I wouldn't describe it that way. I would say that France has got the guts to call the things by their names. For example, we have Turkey, who is the OSCE Minsk Group member, not the co-chair country like France, US, as Russia, but it is an OSCE Minsk Group member, and it is trying to come out as an unbiased negotiator, which is not the case. It's unacceptable. In the case of France, I think it is doing what it should, feeling responsibility for stopping the hostilities that are taking so many civilian casualties. And I think this is a responsibility that should be shared by international community, not only by France. And we have a number of statements coming from other countries that are also expressing their willingness in different terms about the situation and about the need to stop it.
Armine Alexinian, speaking of other countries and taking sides, officials in Artsakh have said that they're fighting against a Turkey-Azerbaijan alliance. There are even reports emerging that Syrian fighters deployed by Turkey have been transported to Azerbaijan. Can you confirm this?
Well, we have some evidences. I hope that we'll be able to provide what they call photographic evidences coming to prove this, because they were being recruited through Turkey, and we have concerning news coming our way, and we are in the process of verifying those facts. In the later days, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to say more on this, but there are a number of videos that the jihadists themselves have put on the internet saying that they are coming after the Armenians in Karabakh.
And beyond these fighters, there are reports that, of course, the F-16 fighter jets may have been provided by Turkey. Again, any evidence to confirm this from your side?
Absolutely. I mean, it's obvious. And there were evidences also that the control of those fighters is being implemented from the territory of Turkey. And I'm sure that military experts can make their conclusions and analyze the situation to be sure of this. What comes to the drones and other arms used by Azerbaijan that are of Turkish production, the remnants of those armaments can prove this, which are on our territory.
Now, we've been speaking about...
in the case of will fight it.
We've been speaking about Turkey. I don't want to forget the Israeli role here. We've heard from the advisor to the president in Azerbaijan earlier saying that they're currently using Israeli-made Harpy suicide drones in Nagorno-Karabakh, and they're actually praising how effective they've been.
That's absolutely true, and it is a sad reality that we're facing today, because a country like Israel, that basically is in the same situation, in the similar situation to us, whereby its population is living in a constant threat of an imminent attack, is actually providing an aggressive country, a dictator country, with arms, with high precision arms that are being directed at the peaceful population, at the civilian infrastructures. And they are continuing for the third day now, casualties among civilians reaching the number 7 dead and more than 30 people wounded by today.
Armine Alexinian, if we're talking about who's providing weapons, we mentioned at the outset that offer by Moscow to mediate talks. The Russians, who are arms suppliers to both sides, what do you think of Moscow's role since the flare-up that happened in July that led to the current escalation?
If we're talking especially in the July escalation, I think I would rather look at it from a broader perspective, not just in a momentum, but Russian clarification or commentary on this was that it is doing business selling arms to both sides. So in a way, of course, all of these are disturbing, but it is also true that Russia was the country who mediated the ceasefire in 1994 that was signed by Karabakh defense minister, Armenian defense minister, Azerbaijani defense minister, a trilateral ceasefire agreement that is being largely ignored now by many, including journalists. And that's where we should look for the clue, because it is obvious that if the ceasefire was signed at that time by 3 sides to the conflict, something is missing from the negotiation table, or rather somebody is missing. And the only tangible result that was actually reached during these negotiations was the ceasefire agreement of 1994, to which Artsakh, Karabakh was a party. And if we want to reach advancement in the negotiation process, I think we have to look at the face of the facts.
Yeah, because the argument that's been put forth, the criticism of Moscow, has been that they have an interest in the status quo. So how do you go beyond that status quo and get to the point where there can be a tangible breakthrough to have a peaceful resolution of it all?
Well, to go beyond the status quo, each country has a responsibility to prepare its population to peace, and not incite Armenophobia or hatred towards the neighbor and create the stereotype of a monster of the other. And that's exactly what has been happening in Azerbaijan, unfortunately. And if we want to have peace, we have to be willing to actually sit face to face and talk about our differences and think about common sides that we could take to reach peace for the benefits of all of the regions. Otherwise, we're going to face a catastrophic situation, not only for Artsakh, Azerbaijan and Armenia, or the South Caucasus alone, but actually this is going to end with a catastrophe that is going to have very bad ramifications for the entire world, including Europe. And I think since we're in the European space, it should be Europe's responsibility as well to take an active stance in making sure that sanctions are made against aggressor, Azerbaijan, because this is the only country among the mentioned ones that has real motives to attack. And that's the country that is not happy with status quo. To make sure that actually
I'm going to interrupt you there because I feel like I'm interrupting you there because you're calling for sanctions, but we cannot have this conversation and ignore the legal question. We know that Nagorno-Karabakh has been internationally recognized as a part of Azerbaijan.
Absolutely, you're right in there, but that doesn't mean that that was a right doing, in a sense that Nagorno-Karabakh has announced its independence through the same legal basis as did Azerbaijan, Armenia, all other Soviet republics. The reason why this was recognized as part of Azerbaijan was because of the bipolar world, whereby the West wasn't aware about these ethnic problems and the Stalin's policy of divide that it made during the Soviet Union. We should not forget that Nagorno-Karabakh was only part of Soviet Azerbaijani Republic, not independent Azerbaijan. And as such, we should not forget that if this is the legacy of the Soviet Union, and Soviet Union does not exist. Like the colonial countries have strived for their self-determination and exercise their right for self-determination, I believe that my people also have the right to exercise their basic human rights and decide their own future. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. And I think that international community should look into this and not think about it whether the principles of territorial integrity should prevail over the right of self-determination or the other way around. This is a responsibility that we should think about people who have struggled for their independence, like people in France have created the French Republic, people in America have created America that is today's America. Karabakh people has done exactly the same.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much, Armine Alexinian, Deputy Foreign Minister of the self-proclaimed Republic of Artsakh, for joining us here on France 24.